we've found documentation showing Canon's efforts to reduce the impact of high temperatures on lens elements. This ensures that video footage remains sharp and provides high image quality even when shooting in harsh environments with extreme temperatures. I'll break it all down for you in just a moment, but if you're serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel grow and keeps you in the loop. In Canon patent application JP 2025-054037, filed September the 26th, 2023, and published April the 7th, 2025, Canon claims to develop a lens with a high variable power ratio and exceptional optical performance across a wide wavelength range. And if we read further down, it's pretty clear that Canon's talking about eliminating any aberration in super telephoto lenses, zoom lenses. And like patent application JP 2025-062387, Canon is attempting to reduce a loss in image quality due to heat amplification. To tackle the chromatic aberration challenge across visible and near-infrared light, Canon designed a zoom lens using a smart combination of lens units. It starts with a positive first lens group, U1, which stays put during zooming. Think of it as a lens anchor. Next, Canon added two movable lens groups, U2 and U3. The first movable group, U2, has a negative refractive power and moves during zooming to adjust magnification. The second group, U3, also moves and helps correct the image plane so that sharpness is maintained even when zooming in or out. And behind those, a following lens group, U4, which includes an aperture stop, and of course, multiple lenses. At least one positive and one negative. But here's the clever bit. Canon optimized this group by applying a specific ratio between the distances from the aperture to the image plane versus the object side of the lens. And image plane is represented by IP, and it's called the Fs, and they fine-tune it to stay between -0.1 and 0.24. But Canon didn't stop there. They also chose lens materials that balance ab numbers and partial dispersion ratios. These numbers relate to how much the glass bends different wavelengths of light. Canon constrained them precisely to suppress chromatic blur across the zoom range and the spectral range. The result? Well, Canon claims that you get a zoom lens with a higher power ratio. That should mean you get a strong zoom without sacrificing image quality, even in tricky lighting conditions. The lens design in this patent application delivers on three key enhancements, one of them being sharper images, not only during the day but in low light conditions or shooting at night. The patent application also applies these enhancements across a wide range of Canon's video cameras, from security cameras, video camcorders, but oddly enough, what is not covered in this patent application are zoom lenses or super telephoto lenses that are part of Canon's mirrorless system. It's designed to deliver 20 times optical zooming without aberration, without loss of image quality, even when pulling aggressive zooms. It's a technology that I would expect to see in the successors of the Canon XF605, XA70, XA65, XA5, and so on. When I first saw this patent application, I got a little bit too excited. I thought, wow, okay, this is going to really help us shooting video, but also stills. And then I realized, oh, it's not for mirrorless cameras, which is primarily what I shoot with. But still, I do cover cinema cameras, and I can see the benefits in pulling zooms, especially aggressive zooms in low light and other lighting conditions where, we're not dealing with good lighting. And I thought, I'm going to go ahead with this. And it is an exciting little patent application. I'm doing my best to double down and to spend more time looking at the various patent applications that Canon's filing. For the past 6 to 8 months, I have to admit, I've been slacking it a little bit, and for good reason. I burnt myself out last year, and I'm taking it a little bit easier. I'm also developing a slightly more, enhanced, more efficient workflow that allows me to cover these in a little bit less time. And I also now have somebody to help me with at least doing a lot of the legwork to find the patent applications, to do some of the research, and even a little bit of the scripting, so I can get these to you a little bit quicker. You might have noticed that in the last week or so, I put out about 5 of them, and well, I got a few more scheduled. So as long as Canon keeps putting them out there, I'm going to keep covering them. And I want to say a special thanks to you for covering, or not covering, for watching this video, watching it to the very end. And if you're really into this channel and all things behind the scenes, then you might want to consider joining me, clicking that joining button. Click that join button at the bottom of the video. I have 3 different membership levels. The first membership level, you get 5 different camera emojis that you can use when you're commenting. If you're not commenting, well, then you really don't have to worry about that. You also get to see, or you also get a loyalty badge whenever you post. So based on the color of the badge, it shows how long you've been a member and a supporter of this channel. And of course, it gives you priority response to any comments. So what happens when I go to check out the comments, I see if there's any members' comments first. I respond to those before I go to the general public. And then there's an insider level, and this is very different. This is what takes you behind the scenes. So once a week, I record various videos behind the scenes about what it's like to use Canon CPS, because I've been going through quite a bit right now. I've been doing a lot of their, what do they call it? The test drive, where you get to even lenses like the 400mm f2.8. I can borrow that for the weekend. And I'm really excited to do that. I'm probably going to do that next week. I can borrow the R1. Maybe I'll do the R1 and the 400mm f2.8. And there's going to be a lot of growing pains behind the scenes, and that's the stuff I get to show you guys. I also covered a pretty big fire in the marsh here in Aurora. That was yesterday. Now, probably by the time you're watching this, it was probably last week. I was at the right spot at the right time. And in fact, I just wish I had caught, if I had been looking in a slightly different direction, I would have caught the person setting the fire. But still, I probably caught the fire within the first couple of minutes of it being set. And I was right behind the scenes. I got to see the fire grow into an incredible 50-foot high fire, at which point it was time to get out of the forest and seek protection. I think it was at least a 4-alarm fire based on the 4 fire engines I could see. There was multiple cruisers. And at one point it was threatening houses, but thankfully not only were no houses adversely affected, but it didn't, it singed the forest, but it didn't take it down, which would have been a terrible, terrible thing. But this time of year, there's a lot of, how should we say, very dry. There's a term they use for it. But essentially, if you take an accelerant, you put it on there, it's going to go up like crazy. And the good news is, because there isn't a lot of greenery that's about to come up, it adds further nutrients to the ground and should help spur growth very quickly. So it's not so much a bad thing at this point. Although if you take a look at that video I put out last week, one thing you'll see is the fire grows pretty intense, and I saw a lot of wildlife scattering out. So it looks worse than it ended up being. The results weren't nearly as bad. There's a certain value proposition in there and how it benefits the environment, but don't use, if anyone's thinking it's a good idea to go ahead and start fires for those sort of reasons, don't. Fires, the thing about fires is they can very easily get out of hand, so unless you know what you're doing, don't start a fire. And if you happen to own your own house, or even if you're renting and you do a lot of cooking, make sure you have a fire extinguisher close by. We do. We check it every year to make sure it's at the right level, because you know, things can get out of hand very quickly. And if you don't believe me, just take a look on YouTube. There's tons of videos. Anyhow, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great weekend. Who knows? Maybe we're close to our weekend. And if you have any ideas about patent application coverage, let me know. Put it in the comment section down below. Cheers. Bye-bye now.